There are two monsters in my story. Mary Shelley's novel depicts an Ouroboros of obsession, a repeating cycle of revenge upon revenge, and mutually absurd destruction. But she is painfully clear that it was not always this way. Even the most faithful adaptations remove the first 3 full chapters in which Victor lays out his entire life, from his innocence as a baby, to his falls from grace, to his isolation from humanity, to becoming a monster. But Mary Shelley wanted to spend 3 full chapters impressing upon our minds that Victor and Adam were both 2 young men who never intended to hurt anyone. If Mary Shelley were speaking in today's language, she might have said to Victor, to Adam, to us, I can give you some advice. Go home. Forget this thing. I can recognize an obsession when I see one. It will do you no good. I followed my obsessions too long. I have become their slave, their whipping boy, and one day they may choose to destroy me. Just like how Victor's obsessions destroyed him, just like how Adam's obsessions destroyed him. But most of all, neither was a monster alone. Both were outcasts and rejects from society, but until they interacted with each other, they were relatively moral. But they each sparked a fire in each other's soul, a fire that would burn them from the inside out. And every time they met, they fueled each other's flames, with revenge, with hatred, with animosity, until by the end, they burned their souls from the inside out. And Victor can only find refuge in the cold of the Arctic. They have both taken each other from moral to monsters. Throughout the Prestige, Angier and Borden follow in Victor and Adam's footsteps. Obsession, revenge, destruction, Angier fueling Borden's hate and Borden fueling Angier's right back. Just like Victor fuels Adam's hate and Adam fuels Victor's hate right back. Until Angier steps out on stage for his final performances, and Angier has gone from London's premier stage performer, not magician, mind, performer of any kind, to a somber soliloquizer who seems to have lost his very soul. Angier and Adam echo each other when one said, my wife, for a couple of his fingers, and the other said, in effect, because you have taken my family from me, I will take yours. And Borden could say to Angier or to Victor, you went halfway around the world. You spent a fortune. You did terrible things. And all of it for nothing. And because Borden goes to find Angier as his soul flickers out of obsession and revenge, he literally loses himself and loses half of his very soul. Victor literally created his monster, but all of these men created their monsters in each other, and created their monsters in themselves. Adam would not have been half as evil if Victor had been good, but Victor would not have been half as evil if Adam had been good. And the same could be said of Borden and Angier, each one ramping up each other's worst selves. And at any point up to a certain moment, any of these 4 men could have saved themselves, and saved their mortal enemy. But instead, they all decide to drown in their dual destruction, believing that it will be like going home, but finding that it is only agony. Because all of their actions are driven by the fear that the world is simple, miserable, and solid all the way through. All the way through to the end of a casket. But none of them were really looking inside themselves. None of them were watching closely, because they don't really want to know. They want to be fooled. Follow for more film talk.